Red Rooster Coffee, the song, take 6. Well, Red Rooster is my coffee, wakes me up at dawn, gets me through the morning as the day keeps coming on, rounds out my every evening after supper like it should. Red Rooster is my coffee, oh man, it tastes so good. Cock-a-doodle-doo, how are you? Well, you'll be better after drinking your first cup. Think I will make myself another, can't keep my secret undercover. It's Red Rooster or it's nothing, that's just the way I roll. Well, it's Red Rooster or it's nothing, and that's just the way I roll.
Well, I'm Hayden Polseno-Hensley, and along with my wife Rose McCutcheon, I am the owner of Red Rooster Coffee. And my day-to-day pretty much consists of managing all the moving parts of Red Rooster, moving from segment to segment, talking to the various managers who are heading up their particular section of what we do, from Swallowtail Tea to JT Copper to the cafe space, and ultimately to the roasting downstairs, which is the main part of our business.
Hi, I'm Tony Greatorex, and I'm the head roaster at Red Rooster Coffee Roaster. And I am also the production manager, so I roast the coffee, I order green coffee, I manage the production side, so deciding what coffee goes out each day and working with the various production employees to make sure that they know what needs to go out each day.
I'm Theda McCutcheon Anderson. I don't specifically have a job title because I have a lot of different things that I'm doing. I've been with the company for a while now. I originally started working for my mother at Notebooks, and then when they needed more help upstairs at Blackwater Loft, I was trained to be a barista. I continue to work as a barista in the coffee shop. I also work in production a couple days a week, which means I bag coffee, box it up depending on what wholesale orders we have that day, and assist with the online retail sales. And then I'm co-owner of JT Copper along with my partner Jolie, and we are working on developing actually 4 different products. We're working on syrups right now, and then we will move into extracts, bitters, and eventually shrubs. So that is very exciting. So I have certain things I do throughout the week, but I'm also able to help wherever I'm needed, as needed.
My name is Grace McCutcheon, and I am a roaster and barista and trainer here at Red Rooster Coffee Roaster. I've been working here steadily for about 5 or 6 years, but I started in the coffee world when I was probably about 13 or 14. It was my first job. My 2 other sisters, Rose and Katie, started the Blackwater Loft, and it was my after-school job, and I worked for tips and just, went through school, graduated, and continued my education for a little bit, then traveled overseas, and then came back and wasn't quite ready to root myself here in Floyd yet, so kept on traveling, but just missed coffee so much, and in my travels missed my family and the coffee atmosphere. So I finally, eventually, about 5 or 6 years ago, decided that this is what I wanted to pursue, this is what I wanted to do. And my brother-in-law, who's the owner, Hayden, and my sister Rose, the other owner, started roasting coffee themselves and asked if I wanted to, dive into that, and I was like, absolutely. So now, it's what I do 24/7, is eat, drink, and sleep coffee.
So you can't sleep with coffee?
I can't sleep, yeah.
It's true. I mean, when you start really small, it's easy to grow a lot, I think. We roasted about 4,000 pounds of coffee the first full year that we were open, which was in 2010. And in last year, 2017, we roasted 103,000 pounds of coffee. So, that's quite exponential growth, but it comes with a lot of work and a lot of effort. Well, it was all my wife's idea. She had been working at the little coffee shop, the Blackwater Loft, since 2004, I think. And it was really just kind of a one-woman show. She did everything there and had some part-time baristas occasionally coming in. And
So she opened that.
with her mother and her sister. And she had the thought in 2009 that she wasn't thrilled with the coffee quality that they were getting, and why don't we roast our own coffee? So we actually started the coffee roasting business before we got married. And I just thought, well, I was working construction, and I sort of took the temperature of the company I was working for and saw that it would be a long time before I could own that company or really achieve at a high level there. And I thought, well, I hadn't planned on working construction my whole life. I worked construction to put myself through graduate school. This would be a cool opportunity. So we took a few classes. We went and visited other coffee roasters. We talked to as many people as we could, and we read as many books as we could, and the deeper and deeper we got into it, the more exciting it became. And then the customer response gave us a lot of energy. We realized there weren't coffee roasters in Southwest Virginia, Western North Carolina, West Virginia, this part of the country in general, that were doing what we wanted to do. We didn't know how to do what we wanted to do when we started. And I always say that hiring Tony Greater-X as the head roaster is the best move we ever made, because I was trying to roast coffee, sell coffee, distribute coffee, do the bookkeeping, and basically manage the whole business myself. And the thing that would sometimes go to the wayside was the actual coffee roasting. And I didn't know or have the experience of how to get to that point. Tony didn't either, but he had the attention to detail and the time to dedicate to it, and he had the palate, and together we were able to create a product, that we're both really proud of today, obviously.
I was living in New River Valley in Blacksburg and Christiansburg and working in coffee shops. And I met Hayden through my work at a coffee shop in Christiansburg. It was very serendipitous how it all happened. Hayden grew up here. He knows everybody, and he knew of a place that was opening up for rent in Floyd. So Jolie and I made the move. And we love Floyd. We love the community, and I've really connected with this town. Yeah, my wife Jolie was brought on, I think it was about a year after I was hired. People often ask what I do at Red Rooster and what Jolie does. And I'm like, I roast the coffee and Jolie does everything else.
My name is Jolie Greater-X, and I am a sales and marketing manager for Red Rooster Coffee. So my responsibilities are working with our wholesale partners, helping our online customers, creating marketing elements and design elements for our company, and also helping out with the merchandising, ordering product, and helping with coffee bag design. That's a lot, and there's a lot more.
So we have a graphic designer who's in Rocky Mount who does 50 to 60% of the art for our bags. The original graphic designer lived in Floyd for about 9 months, and it just so happened to be right at the time when we were opening. And I was doing a very poor job replicating the vision that I had in my head and putting it on a piece of paper, because I'm not a graphic designer. And it turned out that she was a graphic designer. She asked me, do you want some help? And I was like, well, I don't know, we're friends. That might be awkward. Thanks a lot. And then she showed me some work, and I was completely floored. Turned out she went to the Pratt Institute and to Berkeley for graphic design. So she was pretty good. So a lot of the original work, and still quite a bit of the work that that we have today comes from her, even though she lives in Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia now.
What's her name?
Her name is Susan Lau. Yeah, she was here to learn how to make pottery with my parents and work in my parents' studio. They are still printed locally, so we get the 3 sides that are all black and white printed at the factory where the bags are made, and then we leave the front blank. And so Michelle Banky, whose husband Jeff Kimball passed away a couple years ago, Jeff started printing our bags originally when we first started out, and terribly passed away and left Michelle to try and figure out how to do it, and she's done quite a nice job for us with her assistant Shumani, and they still print 90% of the bags. We do some stickers occasionally depending on private label customers, and then we have a sort of backup printer in Roanoke as well. So we're still doing 100% hand printed, locally printed bags, all with water-based inks. Yeah, in many ways, that's what it was like. It was about emailing, cold calling people, talking to people about their offerings, talking to people about what we could do, and making sure that we put the company in front of as many people as we possibly could, and making sure that it looked good while tasting good. I mean, that's always been a sort of slippery way of thinking about it, but we know that, brand matters. People like the way that it looks, people like the way that it feels authentic. And the reason is because it is authentic, All the bags are hand printed, they're biodegradable, the coffee's organic, it's roasted in small batches by people who live down the street from you. Everything that we've done to build the brand has been to make sure that it's authentic to the people that we are and the kind of company that we want to run. And I think people respond to that. And through pushing on that and effectively putting the coffee first and then putting employees first, we've managed to build what I think is a pretty authentic coffee brand, for lack of a better term,
We've actually grown to be, I don't even know what the statistics are, but I think we're one of the companies that employ the most people in the county, which is not a lot, but still for Floyd, it's quite a few. And it's just happened very organically, and all of the people who work here is I think it's something really special. It helps that a lot of us are related, but having a feeling of being invested in the company, wanting it to do well, it changes your perspective when you're working. You're not just working for a paycheck. You're working because you want it to succeed, and because my sister or my brother-in-law or my business partner or someone else, a young woman who I trained when she was 15, and now she's gone to college and she's married, and so it's really special. And it's because you want to see them succeed and you want to help them that it all comes together, and it's just really rewarding. And I love that I work with my husband. Tully is the shipping coordinator and does the online sales, and I love being able to work with him. It's really fun. And I'm not going to make them, but I have 3 daughters, and if they want this to be their first job, I'm super excited that could happen. So even if it is washing dishes or sweeping floors. So I think that's really special.
None of this would be possible without our community here in Floyd being so supportive and interested in what we're doing. And they're kind of like, Floyd is like our first students. The people who have been like, tell me about what you're doing. Why are you doing it that way? Why are you stirring that Chemex 5 times? Why are you timing your shots, pulling from the espresso machine? Why does a roast take under 15 minutes? Why? Like, those questions are asked by these people in Floyd, in our community, and in the New River Valley. And it's because of them that our passion grew. And so I really feel like Floyd specifically is part of this with us. So
The more you learn about coffee, though, the more it's so easy to become passionate about it, because the cup of coffee that's in your hand is just a minuscule tip of the iceberg of what goes into the entire ecosystem of coffee. You know, from the hardships of growing coffee, to the meticulous nature of processing coffee, to the importing and trade business of coffee. Really, by the time the coffee gets to the roaster, we often say that so much of our job is just trying not to screw up all the work that's been done up to that point. We buy the best green coffee that we can get our hands on, and we roast it so that it tastes like it's supposed to taste, or that's what we believe. And, you know, everything else is just sort of about the entire chain. The roaster tends to get a lot of the credit because they're the one who has the name on the bag.
Yeah, and you know, as we progress here and we grow here, both in clientele and just, you know, on personal goals, I'm finding that there is this huge community in the coffee world outside of Floyd, and so many people who just love coffee as much as we do, to baristas and, you know, coffee producers and farmers. Like, it's just, the chain of hands in the coffee world is just, you know, so amazing. And it is bigger than coffee. It's always bigger than coffee. There's always so much more to just the cup itself. So that's exciting for me. I think the biggest thing with that, with the classes, is, like I said before, people are becoming more interested in the specialty coffee world and what it has to offer. We all know we like coffee, but we forget, you know, that it's actually, it starts as a fruit and then it's harvested, and there are these farmers who are, you know, such an integral part of this profession. And then there's the importers and the roasters, and then there's the baristas, and then the customers. So we know we like coffee. But I think for the public who doesn't get to work in this profession, they want to know a little bit more about it. So we do offer classes, you know, monthly or bi-monthly, usually on the weekend, where they can come in and they can cup with us, which is it's a fancy word of saying tasting coffee, and learning about how to brew at home if you want the best cup possible at home. A lot of times we hear customers come in and they say, it just doesn't taste the way that it, you know, tastes at home for me. And so that's a class we offer. It's like, okay, well, let us teach you how you can make that best cup at home. So we offer that class. We also talk, we do like a coffee fundamentals class. So it's like the history of coffee and coffee around the world, where it started, how it came to be here in the Americas and here in the US. And it's got such a deep, kind of dark history. I always say it would make an amazing Netflix series, like the coffee history. But we also just listen to what people want. If someone is interested, I want to learn how to make the best French press. It's like, okay, well, we could teach a class based on that. So we really just try and listen to the public, listen to what they want, and try and offer that as much as possible.
Well, I mean, I think it's a dream come true, you know? We always did what we could with the space that we had, and this shop, the new coffee shop, did not come about by accident, and it didn't come easily. It's the culmination of an intense amount of customer education and work to earn the trust of the community, not just in Floyd, but in the surrounding counties of Montgomery County and Roanoke County, and the people who would come to this shop, to show them that we know what we're doing, we care about what we're doing, we care about them, and we want to provide a perfect product to them every time. And that coming into our shop is an experience. It's not just a gas station passing through, cup of coffee, I just need some caffeine. It's an experience to be savored, and you know, I think we grew with our customers. We educated them about what we wanted to do and how we were trying to do it, and they came with us on the journey.
Our move officially started last summer when we moved the roasting operation into the back space. And so a lot of that was, we started a transition of kind of being separated from the coffee shop for a while, which brought its own set of challenges.
When we were all at the Locust Street space, even though we were across a parking lot from each other, that was still nice. That could still happen. But there, I mean, it's been a 6-month period, maybe a 7-month period, where we were on opposite sides of the town, and that was really hard. If they needed help down there, you know, they were kind of out of luck. So now having everyone here together is really nice. And of course, those of us who work most of our time here at the roasting space, we're super excited to have the cafe nearby. We got really spoiled having our coffee so close down there and then leaving. We had to make our own coffee. I mean, the horrors.
It's been a long process of getting production up and running and finding a good rhythm, and then also doing that simultaneously with a huge construction project up in the front and above us and behind us and kind of all around us. So I've been trying to help guide that process and find ways to make our processes better and maybe a little more efficient. And then also, you know, burning the midnight oil last night in preparation for the coffee shop opening and helping wherever I needed to help.
So was it literally like to the last minute before you opened getting ready?
Pretty much. I was fortunate to work, you know, until 10:30 last night. But there were people here much later than that, getting ready for opening. So it was down to the minute. They were hanging lights last night. We were washing windows. We were scrubbing the floors. We were putting away all of our new merchandise and getting things priced and you know, just making last-minute adjustments. It's so exciting. Just yesterday alone, there were so many things that were introduced into the space that I didn't even know were coming. So, you know, we've been able to adapt for the last week. You know, new things come in, a new piece of wood or a new piece of metal trim or, you know, just like little things like that we've been able to adapt to. But then yesterday it kind of all culminated and just everything came in at once. And it was just like one more thing to like be in awe of, or someone's you know, craftsmanship. Just there were so many hands involved, so many people in Floyd that have their stamp in this building. Even the bases of the tables that were handmade by Benji Osborne, the wood pieces on the bottom of the tables actually came out of this building when they removed the second floor to open up the ceiling. So little pieces were able to come, you know, were able to be salvaged and reintroduced into pieces here. So it's really exciting, and I just can't wait for everyone to come in and feel comfortable here and just also enjoy the beauty of it, because it is really, really special. Like, I think people just have to come in and see it, and I hope they love it and feel like it's their space, because that's what we want people to feel like it's theirs. Like, obviously, like, you know, we've done all this getting into it, but we just, you know, the loft was such a special place for people, the Blackwater Loft, and so you know, I know change can be hard, especially something like a coffee shop, where so much of that is about a routine and you know, this kind of ceremony for people every day. So I hope people, you know, will enjoy those memories, but also know that they have something really new and special here too that they can love just as much, if not more, than that. And it's first floor. You don't have to climb stairs, only if you want to. So.
Hi, my name is Noah Byler. My involvement with this project was mostly with these stairs here. I work with OmniBuild, and we did a huge amount of work on the building as well. But my personal involvement was designing and building these stairs and getting them in place here right before opening, and it was kind of last second, but it was a great project. I've known Hayden Rose a long time, and I was pretty honored to be able to be involved with it, and it was a pretty fun project. So the stairs are poplar treads that we fabricated in Benji Osborne's shop. He's did all the woodwork for the counters and cabinets here. Really fantastic woodworker, and he was very, very generous with his help getting us rolling on it. So we fabricated the poplar treads, and then we used you know, lumber from Wills Ridge to make the rest of the components for it, and there's a lot of careful planning and layout. And took all the careful measurements and then drew it up, and, you know, worked closely with Hayden and Rose to get, you know, what we wanted for this space. And we were dealing with some pretty tight parameters here with clearances and such, and so that was a trickiest thing, to get the stairs wide enough and get the head clearance with this beam, and and of course with commercial stairs they tend to take up a little more space. So that with as much space as there was here, and I think sort of creating a continuity with the idea of a loft, moving from one space, which was the loft, to this new space, and I think there was a focus with that. And of course it required a bit of engineering and all to open this up and get this this loft space, and then of course needing a pretty substantial set of stairs to get there. So, but you can still get your coffee on this main level now, which really makes it more accessible for a lot of people. But it's a really cool space up there. It's very it's a little more private and a little more removed, but it's pretty neat. It's pretty rewarding. Everyone's it's great to see just sort of what this means for the community, and as a nice place for just coming and getting high quality products and a nice place to hang out. So for me it's a little different because I've been here for a bunch of weeks now and working on this and putting in a lot of time, and so it's very rewarding to see people enjoy the space like this, and and getting to enjoy it myself, because I mean it only became this like in the last day or day and a half. It was a job site. There was so much going on, and then it just all kind of came together here last second with a lot of people putting in a lot of time. So
I'm so excited. The new space is going to be so functional and pretty. I'm so happy for my friends that they have realized this amazing vision, and I love their coffee so much. So it's really awesome. Love to come in here and get a cortado and an eclair. Now I can sit and watch the traffic go by, just like the old place. Yeah, the outside patio is excellent. Yeah, it's gonna be super fun.
My name is Lily Byler, and I've known most of the people here pretty much my entire life. And so it's really cool to see the progression of what Red Rooster, what it was before and what it is now, and seeing the differences between the old space and here. It's the old space felt cozier and kind of more like home, but you can't really compare because it's amazing. This place is incredible. I will definitely bring my friends here because it's the kind of place that we definitely should hang out.
Opening day was really something. It was so busy. It was so crazy. It was fun. It was exciting. We do Floyd Fest every year, and there's a certain level of exhaustion and teamwork and sort of almost manic camaraderie that happens, and it felt a lot like Floyd Fest that day. And I don't think any of us were expecting that outcome. We were excited by it. Also a little scared, is this going to be the new normal? But it was a lot of fun. I was in the kitchen mostly that day, baking in the kitchen. And so I could hear everything that was going on. I could look, anytime I looked out, it was just a sea of people. We have a window in the kitchen where people can look in, and every time I looked up, there were people peeking in. So it was nice to be able to be a part of that, but also have a place to kind of hide a little and just bake as much stuff as we could, because we knew whatever we were going to put out was going to sell, and support the staff as much as we could. The dishes that day were insane. We've since hired a dishwasher, and we've never had a dishwasher before, and he stays busy. So it has lessened a little. We're still far busier than we were at the loft, at the old space. And I think we're still just sort of waiting to see where's the level gonna settle. This is our slower time of year historically. So this is the time when we really need to find out what's working, what's not working, get new systems in place to be ready for when the tourists come. And from this point on, it'll just gradually get busier and busier until October, when it's our busiest month of the year, and kind of stays busy through Christmas. So now's the time to figure those things out, and I think we're doing that. But a lot of our resources, our working people resources, get pulled to the front, And that is leveling off a little, but we still need to see where it's going to settle.
Our wholesale clients place an order, they'll send it through email, and so yeah, it basically each day I decide what coffee needs to be shipped based on when it came in. And so, for example, like Whole Foods is a customer of ours, so they would place an order, and they may order 3 cases of funky chicken and 2 cases of farmhouse. So we roast to order. We roast the coffee to order, and then I will blend it up, and it's bagged and put in boxes and shipped out through UPS. A big part of our company has always been about like freshness and getting coffee to our clients as fresh as possible. Basically, it just begins to stale very quickly. So air and light are kind of like the enemies of coffee. And so the flavor deteriorates quickly. So we always like emphasize buying small amounts of coffee, just enough for like the week. And doing that often rather than buying in large quantities and storing it in your freezer or your pantry. Well, when I'm roasting coffee, I'm controlling the airflow and the temperature and the time, and I'm kind of watching the coffee change. There's what's called the sight glass in the coffee roaster, so I can watch it that way, and I can also, there's a small piece on the roaster called the trier where I can pull out small samples and look at the coffee, take a small sample out and then put it back in. So I can kind of watch the progress there, and then it's connected to my computer as well. We have a software called Roast Log that we use to track each roast, and so I can look at the roast progression. I'm looking at what's called the rate of rise, which is how quickly the coffee is getting to the temperature that I want it to, and yeah, so it's a mixture of sight and smell, and then sound, which the sounds that I'm looking for are cracks. So there's a stage in the roast called first crack, and that's when a lot of the changes start to happen and the coffee really begins to develop. It's called the Maillard reaction. And it's similar to like if you are cooking a steak and the meat starts to brown and the sugar start to caramelize and that sort of thing. It's the same sort of reaction. With each coffee that we get in, we develop a roast profile for it to kind of just determine like the best qualities that we can get out of that coffee. So with African coffees, which we're all big fans of here, those are typically really complex coffees and have like a lot of character. Specifically Ethiopian coffees, that's the birthplace of coffee. And so we kind of know like with an Ethiopian coffee, we're going to be doing a lighter roast with that because we don't want to mask those qualities with a darker roast. But with like a Central or South American coffee like a Nicaragua or a Brazil, we might kind of push the roast a little bit more because the flavor profile on those coffees would be more like chocolate and caramel, whereas like the Ethiopian would be like citrus, floral, and berries.
I've always felt like Tony, to me, is such an artist as a roaster. And I'm a production roaster, so typically what he does is he, samples the coffee, roasts the coffee, sample roasts it, we cup it, and we decide what profile is to our liking and how we want to roast it. So I kind of follow a recipe, is what I do. And I love that. And just recently I got to kind of take the reins on a couple of coffees myself that we submitted to coffee review. So that was really exciting for me. But mainly I come in, I'm the first one here in the morning, and I roast and I roast and I roast, big batches that we use in blends or darker profile roast coffee. I get here at 7, and then everyone else normally gets here, around 9. So by then I'm like 6, 7 roasts deep, and we have a good start on the day. And then Tony can come in and work on more of those like single origin, lighter profiles that take a little bit more, micromanaging and watchful eye, and experiment as well with new coffees. I think the part of coffee that I am least experienced in is producing, and because we can't farm coffee here. It doesn't grow well here. It has to be in the Tropic of Cancer area, around the equator. So I would love one day to be able to go to Origin and work on a farm for X amount of time for a little while and get to see that side of things, because then I really feel like it will completely, fully fill my coffee world experience and profession if I'm able to do that. And who knows, maybe one day have my own farm somewhere that Red Rooster can import from. That's a dream, but maybe one day.
I'm actually traveling to Costa Rica, leaving on Sunday for a week to spend in Costa Rica and travel to coffee farms and meet farmers, taste coffees, probably taste like 200 coffees throughout the course of the week. And then basically decide what coffees to buy for Red Rooster, which essentially means, I commit to buying a certain amount of bags of different types of coffee in Costa Rica. And it's a trip with our company, our main importer, Royal New York. So once we purchase those, they import the coffee, and then we can order it from their facility. So it should be really exciting. This is my first trip. Hayden traveled to Colombia and Nicaragua. So I mean, I can't really even imagine. It's going to be surreal to meet the farmers. And there's a specific farm that we bought coffee from for 3 years, and I'm really looking forward to meeting those folks, because we've seen videos of them online, and actually Grace and Hayden were able to meet them when they were brought on a tour of the United States. So, it will be great to meet those producers and just to be able to shake their hands and thank them for the work that they do, because there's so much work that goes into producing coffee.
Everything that we do here at Red Rooster is handmade. It's made from scratch. It's developed through processes that take time and take a lot of energy, but are super rewarding. The JT Copper, the simple syrups, and the flavors that are going into the coffee drinks. I'm looking at that wow, the amount of energy and effort that goes into this when you can just buy simple flavors off the shelf and get them shipped to you in a box. But the quality is not as good, and the care that goes into it is not there, and the support that we can provide to our employees by giving them work to do to create these things is really important. And the same goes for the tea, and the same goes to everything that we do out of our kitchen in the cafe. It's just that we seem to always be taking the route that makes our job harder in order to provide a more excellent product in the end. I mean, I think it is in some ways about authenticity. It is certainly in some ways about, keeping things local. But I think ultimately it's just about the basic inherent feeling in both of us that there is no point in doing something if you can't do it in an excellent way. And that if you're not pursuing excellence in every step, then why are you doing it? And we drop things if we think that we can't do them well. But if we say that we can do them well, then we will kill ourselves to do it perfectly. for better or for worse. There's two sides of the same coin that I would like to sort of present Red Rooster as to the local community. I mean, on the one hand, we couldn't be where we are today without their support, without the people who come in, and without the people who have been with us from day one and who have, come along the journey with us as we've gotten to this point. And we're so grateful for their support, because otherwise, where would we be? And on the other side of that coin, I think there are probably people who think that we have a sort of coffee snobbish atmosphere, that maybe it's a little bit intimidating and they'd rather just go somewhere easy and simple and know that they could just get a cup of coffee and not have to deal with whatever sort of whatever the sort of elitist idea about coffee snobbery there might be. But as I mentioned before, my wife Rose and I are both from Floyd, and all the people who work for us are people who grew up in this community, with a few exceptions. And we care, everybody who works for us cares deeply about this community, because we all live here. And so we've worked really hard to keep the coffee snobbery out of the customer service and out of the presentations, and just make sure that it fulfills our desires for excellence, and make sure that every single cup of coffee that goes out is perfect without intimidating the customer. So I would urge people who haven't come in to give it a try, that they might be pleasantly surprised. To run a sort of nationally recognized company out of a small rural town is a challenge, without a huge customer base just outside of our doors. And it's a challenge that I relish. I mean, that's the part of it that I enjoy the most, I think, is trying to figure out how to sell coffee to a lot of people, being from a place that doesn't have a lot of people.
Gets me through the morning as the day keeps coming on. Rounds out my every evening after supper like it should. Red Rooster is my coffee. Oh man, it tastes so good. Cock-a-doodle-doo, how are you? Well, you'll be better after drinking your first cup. Think I will make myself another, can't keep my secret undercover. It's Red Rooster or it's nothing, that's just the way I roll. Well, it's Red Rooster or it's nothing, and that's just the way I roll.